Hi, this is Samina Shaikh here on Zoom channel, and with me right now I have the multi-talented Sonali Bendre, who is going to introduce me to her new work right now. So join me as I welcome her only on Zoom.
Thank you.
All
It's
this
a pleasure
while-
to be here. Namaste. Thank you.
And all this while I've always met you, for movies, for OTT shows and all these things, and
Yeah.
then suddenly, boom, it comes to your new projects that you're working on and trying a hand on, writing, on, getting into podcast,
Yeah.
that too, the podcast is so special that, doing with, with pets and all.
Yeah.
How the journey has been for you?
So, first the book, if you talk about, it's my second book and it's in collaboration with my book club. So, Sonali's book club has turned 8. It's one of the biggest digital book club in South Asia, and like I said, for 8 years we've been at it. It's a beautiful community. So it's from a lot of people asking you all the time recommendations and everything. So this time in collaboration with the book club with HarperCollins, we've written the Book of Books, which means the book is about books. So it's for parents who want to get their children into reading, or for people who have gotten out of the habit of reading, like you and me, and because we are also used to fast-paced lives, because reading everything quickly.
Yes.
So the long read, the beauty and the discipline of long read, if you've gotten out of it and you want to get back to reading, tips and help to get back to reading. Or even for people who have not been readers and who feel that अरे अब तो हम इतने बड़े हो गए, अब कहाँ से हम बचपन में नहीं सीखा, अब कहाँ से हम readers बनेंगे. So then we want to tell them that you can become a reader at any point of time. And also for people who जिनको लगता है कि बचपन से अभी हम readers नहीं हैं, अब कहाँ से reader बनेंगे. I want to tell them that you're never too old to become a reader, and that you can start reading even at this age. There's just a discipline to it, and so there are various tips and the little journaling things and how you can go about becoming a reader.
Correct.
Reading, I feel, is a relationship, and any relationship which you have to commit to it and you have to nurture it.
Yes.
And I think the Book of Books is going to recommend books to you and going to nurture this relationship between you and your book.
And also, Sonali, when I've seen your work also, from acting, coming into the world of, writing books. And when you're writing, you really have to imagine, and you need to have that imagination when you're writing, because your readers are looking into that.
Yeah.
They don't have a vision, but it's all imaginary world.
I think that's more for fiction, and so this is not a fiction, it's about listing out, and it's a fun book. So it's about various genres, you explore all the genres, it's done in a fun way, it's got illustrations in it, and it's got a lot of tips in it, and it's got a lot of fun facts to it. So, it's more of a fun book which you'll keep picking up and keep going back to, rather than creating a world. Now the thing about fiction and creating a world, that's a bit of a lonely place where you have to be with yourself and your imagination and write. I don't think I'm ready for it yet, because especially after my illness, being alone is not something that I look forward to. I want to be surrounded by people. I want to feel alive, because it's been, you understand what it is. So I'm not yet ready for it. But you never say never, because you never know when you will be ready for it. So, so writing the book, or my podcast, which is called the Happy Podcast. And why is it the Happy Podcast? Because the maximum happiness I get when I'm with my pet, when I'm with my fur baby. And so here it is, I am with my little Icy. Both of us are hosting. So we have experts with their dogs coming in, and we're having a conversation. There's so much information on the internet, and I was, as a pet parent, confused about a lot of things. So I thought, hey, why not have conversation with experts, have a lot of opinions, have fun, talk to them, get the pets together. So it's fun while you talk about really important topics as a pet parent.
Correct.
From be it pet insurance to legal issues, because you're in societies, what is your legal standing when you can have your pets, to NGOs that work, what kind of breeds you get in, what kind of commitment you need, food, behavior, nutrition, just so many things that there's so many topics that you can talk about. In fact, one of my favorite topics on the Pet Podcast is also about pets and movies, animals and movies, and how do you train them. So, the trainer who trained Charlie, the dog, the film, he is there, and he talked about his methods of how he trained Charlie to become such a fabulous actor. Can you imagine? So, wonderful stories like that. Some of them are deep stories about how the highest rate of suicide is among veterinarian doctors.
Correct.
And I did not know that. I was shocked when I heard it. And it's because of the horrors that can happen to mute animals.
Yes.
And most of the time they've gone in because there's a certain amount of love for the animals and they just can't bear to see it day after day. And they actually, there's a lot of self-harm that happens where vets are concerned. And I didn't know this fact. So we are discussing so many different topics with our pets. So it's very special in that sense for me.
So, you know, and I have known that, you know, you have gotten into reading when you were going through a phase, you know, when you were dealing with your cancer. But when you were reading books, which kind of books otherwise, you know, interest your attention?
So I've always been a reader. Reading happened, I mean, from my childhood, my best friends have always been books. And my childhood was spent every 2 years in a different school, different place. So I've traveled, I've been brought up all across this country, length and breadth, from Nepal to Chennai. I've traveled everywhere. So new places, new schools. The only thing constant was the family, the sisters and my books. They traveled with me in a trunk to the various cities, to the various schools, you know, so that has been my go-to. So every time you're alone, you're in a new place, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I turn to a book, I open a book and I'm at home. I'm in a safe place. So for me, that's what books have always been. So even on my sets, I mean, if you, I don't know, you are much more younger. I mean, you know, if you look at I was always the one who had books with me on my sets also. So in between shots, when I was waiting for it, I always had my books with me. So I was always a reader. And when I started my book club, it was because when I got onto social media, I thought it was a fantastic tool and how could I use it in a good way. And that was, I used it to make a book club, which became a great community, and this community saw me through my illness. Because it was a great anchor for me. When I read, we read together, we discussed it together. It was something that I looked forward to when I was going through my treatment. So it was a very strong community. And slowly from that community itself comes out, and from the interaction with the community, we come to the book of books.
Yeah, and that's very interesting fact, you know, when you said like coming to the world of books and all.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you know, when you deep dive into books and all, you know, there's a lot of learnings also. And when you start
Of
reading,
course.
suddenly there's a change in your entire personality. And I have seen that, you know. Have you
There's
also
nothing
noticed?
more, I mean, for me, I think books are the best tool of education, knowledge, because knowledge is not just about some great subjects like science, math and stuff like that, but knowledge about the world, about life's lessons, and that's what books give you. You know, there are, in the various reasons that we talk about, some of the reasons that are really close to my heart. One of the reasons is that I always say the cheapest way to travel is by buying a book, because you can be in your house and you can be transported to a different world. You come to know different places, the cultures of those places, the people, their habits, their languages, their intonations. So much to learn. You feel like you've traveled there. And there are certain fun facts in the book also, like where is the oldest library still standing, which is the oldest bookshop. And you know, for me, as a teenager, when I got into movies, that's the first time that I traveled abroad. Before that, I had traveled a lot, but in India, never abroad. But when I started traveling abroad, it felt like I had done it. It was not new because I had read so much about it and I had gone through so many cultures. And now when I look at these fun facts that I have curated in the book, I'm like, I want to travel to where this library is. I want to travel to where this bookstore is. So life has come a full circle, and now I'm looking at where is it that, you know, first from my travels being through the books to now through that book, I want to find the places to travel to. Also, like you mentioned, when you deep dive into books or any other way, I also feel that books are something where, you know, you learn empathy, you learn compassion, because you come to know so many varied characters that have so many flaws in them, so many emotions. It's not necessary that in your lifetime you're going to go through all those emotions.
True.
And especially for me, when people say, oh, you feel like, are you an old soul? It's not that. I feel I'm a reader. It's not like I'm an old soul. I'm just a reader, and I've lived so many lives through the stories, through those characters and through the books. that when certain situation comes to you in the life, there's always something that you've read somewhere, some character that you can associate with and learn from. And that I think really helps, makes you much more inclusive, much more broadens your horizons. So much that reading gives you.
Also, your journey, when I see that, your journey has been artistic. And I say that, you started off with romantic movies to now doing OTT, and when you're doing very serious stuff also. It's like a long journey, and it's like a lot of experiences I'm sure you must have had. What is that one thing which you keep constant and one thing which you try to kind of modify or change in your journey otherwise, be it acting or be it otherwise as you?
So, this was something that I think I did in my subconscious, but I do it much more consciously now that I have grown older. But I think the moment I'm uncomfortable about something, I do it, because you cannot grow if you're comfortable. Growth comes, you can evolve, you can grow only if you're uncomfortable. And so anything that challenges you is always going to be something you don't know, and you're always going to be uncomfortable. So I think that is what. So earlier when I was uncomfortable, I would be scared. Now when I'm uncomfortable, I look at it with excitement that, oh, I'm going to learn something that. So yeah, it does. There is that little tingle, but it's a good tingle, because I have learned to identify that I needn't fear it. That good or bad, I mean, you might get appreciated or not get appreciated, but I'll always learn something from it, and I have learned to appreciate that.
Do you also feel, as you evolve as an actress, and in this, industry, the patience factor really work a lot, or have to kind of work on, because there are cases where you may not be appreciated for what you're bringing on the table with your work, and there would be cases where you would be just hyped to a certain extent that there is pressure on you to do in a certain manner only. How do you balance that?
Well, first of all, understanding the fact that the people who are putting you on the pedestal are going to be the same ones who are going to pull you off that pedestal also. So don't get so attached to the pedestal. So I'm not attached to the pedestal. I don't take myself that seriously. So I understand that when I look into the mirror or when I shut my eyes, I'm not going to fool myself. I don't lie to myself. The truth can be very uncomfortable, but I don't lie to myself. And so I know where I stand. I know what is a perception and what is the truth. And sometimes there is a perception that is good for you. Sometimes there is a perception that's not good for you. But when there is a perception that's good for you, you enjoy it. So when there's a perception that's not so good for you, you take it on your chin and you move on from there. You learn from it, and you keep working, put your head down and you just keep working, and then it will turn, and the perception will change at some point.
But
it's all perception.
It's all perception. It's like something, we like how we say that there are theories which we really don't know if they are going to get debunked and all. But at the same time, when you were at the peak of your career, you also got married. You also embraced motherhood. How that phase was for you when you got into that, being a star actress, someone renowned. How did you, work on that, and that time,
Well, like I said, that's a perception. I mean, it's not something that I thought. I didn't think I was some renowned actress or whatever. At that time, that felt right. That felt like that is what I needed to do. That is what gave me joy. And I just followed my joy and my satisfaction and my happiness.
As an actress, it's like I said earlier also, it's never easy, because you are playing multiple characters when you're on screen, but otherwise also you're dealing with the media, you're dealing with the PAPs, you're dealing with PR, you're dealing with a lot of people in the industry also. What is that one thing which you really worked upon, which literally cajoled you to be an actress and manage the profession which you're serving in?
Well, for me, I turned an actor because I needed the money, and it was the best paycheck at that point of time that was coming to me, and that's the reason why I became an actor. Yes, the good part is that I fell in love with this profession afterwards, but that was not why I became an actor. And there are a lot of people who love the craft, and I really admire them. But the truth is that was not me. So I fell in love with it later. So for me, I would say that being an actor, it was not something that I planned on being. It happened. Whenever something happens, you try to do the best you can in the given situation. And I think that's what I did.
And when I say that, often the personal life, the private life of a star is often under radar. People
Yeah.
are more keen to know, oh, Sonali Bendre, she is, and what she may be doing in her personal life, or what she is up to,
Yeah.
or probably. And I'm sure you have also faced that, and especially when you're the young actress, you're working on that, you often also get linked up, and such things happen. How at that stage you dealt with it? Because right now we still have social media, we keep on posting something, and then rumors are kind of like, okay, you have
Yeah.
clarified.
Yeah.
That time that didn't exist.
Yeah.
How did you deal with it?
Well, you learn to grow slightly thicker skin, and I didn't make the same mistake twice. So once I learned a lesson and I understood that, oh, okay, this is how it works. And then I knew how to deal with it and nip it in the bud the next time. So it never happened again. I was just a quick learner, and I adapted well. And I think the fact that I traveled, I mean, every 2 years I was in a new school, adapting to new situations, made me that person who didn't crave for attention all the time, who didn't need validation all the time, who was happy to be alone and with herself, because that was my childhood. And because when you keep constantly moving, so that peer pressure, I could deal with that. And because I could deal with that, I feel that I learnt my lessons quicker and learnt how to deal with it. Where I realized that sometimes it's not, I mean, sometimes it's an overactive imagination of the journalist, because today you talk about clickbait, that time it was headlines, and that headline sold the magazine. But sometimes it was because either the producer wanted the PR, or the actor wanted to feel good about themselves, and that's why they were putting it out. Multiple reasons for things to go out. So you couldn't blame any one person. That was the circumstance, that was the part of the, can I say, the environment. And so the fact was that the same environment was giving me the fame, the money, the work. So I just started looking at it as the pros and the cons of the job.
And as I said, as I said earlier also, the job is tough, which you're doing, and you have enjoyed yourself.
Yeah.
And that too on the set of a movie. And I'm sure, I hope you're fine. But at the same time, when you're doing certain scenes, sometimes you have to be in that character, especially action sequences and all. Such incidents happen. Don't you also kind of fear, because beyond an actress, you're also an individual,
Yeah. But my job is physical, so how long can you not do it? So it's part of the job. Every job has its difficulties. I mean, your job has its own challenges. And so while I will sit here and complain that, oh my God, they want the clickbait and they want the headlines. But for you, oh my God, I need to get it because somebody up there will be, you haven't got me a good enough, there's no clickbait. So everybody, I'm just giving an example of everybody has challenges in their, this thing. And all of us are trying to make the best of the given situation. My job is physical. There is a lot of physicality involved. How much ever I can, I try and you try and work around it. But when you can't, you just, like you say, take it on your chin and go on.
And as you said, and Sonali, I really agree with you that, that external validation was not required. Right now, with social media booming, every individual...
It's not like it's not required. I'm
but it was
human
lesser,
too.
yeah.
But it was not ruling my life, and that came because I had spent my childhood going from one place to the other. Every 2 years, when you are in a new classroom with new set of students, boss, there is nothing bigger lesson, nothing that teaches you more to adapt. And so I think that was I can adapt.
But don't you feel that in current situation, as we see the actresses and all, and the actors also, they are trying to be, of course, up the game and all, but the pressure is a lot on them, or probably एक हो गया है social media का this entire thing that you have to kind of post, you have to be there, otherwise you're not validated as such, right now. Don't you feel that is a bit, earlier I would not even spot, actors as such, unless if there is something, promotion or they are going somewhere.
So the challenges earlier were different, challenges today are different. Business has also grown a lot more. I promise you I wouldn't get the kind of money that I was probably get today, that, at my peak, I wouldn't have got that. So challenges differ, payments differ, life keeps changing, things change. See, the pressure is, it depends on you, how much of it are you going to take on to you as your pressure. And if you can identify that, okay, this is getting too much for me, leave, move out. Or yeah, okay, you know what, at the airport there are going to be paps, how am I dressed? For a little while, it's not like, oh my God. And then I'm like, but I haven't asked you to take this picture.
Correct.
I'm not telling you to judge me. And if you're still going to judge me, I can do nothing about it. This is what I am. And if that works, works. If it doesn't, don't click my picture.
Yeah.
The moment you're clear about that, it's not pressure, it doesn't bother you.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting, and I must say that people should be following that, because when you're not conscious as such, we see, like, even now, like when I attended a recent press conference, and the actress was a bit conscious because she was, of course, had worked in some films, but again, she had to sit in a certain posture or like be careful of, how her outfits are. Do you feel that media has also kind of made people way too conscious, or even social media for that matter, because
No,
audience
but that
is
was
also
always the thing, no? When you're in public eye, whenever you're in public eye, anything can happen. Of course, the phone cameras it's not just the paps, everybody is a pap now.
Yes.
The phone camera came and ruined everything because, there was no place. Earlier, you had certain places you were going in, and these were the public spaces where you had to be careful. You were proper about where. Now, the moment you step out of your door, it's a public place.
Like recently, you had to stop a fan also. He was vlogging, while trying to click a picture with you, and that video also kind of went
Which
viral.
word was it?
So he was there with
Oh,
you, and
yeah,
he tried to
there's
click a
something
then he was doing a vlog basically while trying to
right,
click a
right, right,
picture.
yeah.
So that
no,
also
I just thought
happens.
that was rude. That if you want to do a vlog, you should tell me
Yes.
that I want to do it. And it's a two-way street, right?
Correct.
So you can't just start vlogging without telling me that that's what you're doing. I thought it was just a rude behavior.
One video of yours which is going viral right now on the
What?
social media, and I'm not sure whether you have seen it or not, but I'm sure you're aware about it. It's about Dakota Johnson joining you for
that was so
for
long
the
ago.
Indian culture. Yeah, but basically you being a part of it. How it has been for you welcoming them to India and welcoming to the culture of India.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's any. She wanted to go to temples. I was happy to take her. She was a lovely person. Took her to the temples, and that's all there was to it. I enjoyed it. She's a lovely person.
And also recently you went for this Marathi Divas, and a lot of people came. Vicky Kaushal came, Raj Thackeray came,
Yeah.
even Mahesh
Manjrekar was there,
came.
Javed Saab,
Yes.
Asha ji.
And that kinds of now also one conversation which is happening heavily, which is about that
About?
one should be knowing Marathi. And don't you feel that when you are staying in a certain state, it's important? It is kind of just knowing at least. Kind of knowing basically.
So now this is a very, what do you say? Because it becomes a very political thing. Unfortunately, we are talking about a language, but when you ask me this question, it becomes a very political. Now, I'm not a political person. I'm an actor. And as an actor, I feel languages are very beautiful, and knowing different languages is beautiful because the rhythm of every language is different. For me, Marathi is my mother tongue. Having said that, I'm not brought up in Maharashtra. So there are a lot of people who are brought up here are much more Maharashtrian than I am. I'm not. So just because I speak Marathi and I have a Maharashtrian name and parents, I don't think that makes me totally Maharashtrian. I think I'm now much more Maharashtrian than I ever was because I work here, I live here. But and so for me, because I have traveled across the country, when I started speaking, I was speaking in Hindi, and I was speaking in Hindi and English. So for me, I learned Marathi because my parents replied to me in that. And that for me is what I associate Marathi with is my home, is with my family, with my parents. So they're great memories. So of course I love the language because it associates and brings relationships that are very dear to me in front of me. And also Marathi has some great literature. And though it's Devanagari script, reading it is difficult for me. I can read it because I can read Hindi. But it's different to read it. But when my parents read it to me, or when they talk about it, or when you read the poetry, you can't miss the beauty of the language, and that is there in all languages, the rhythm of every language and the use of words. It's so creative. I always say that I really admire writers because the way they use language is so beautiful, and that applies to authors in every language.
And before I let you go, definitely I'm going to ask you about your upcoming projects, but how much do you personally enjoy your me time on social media? Do you enjoy the memes or the pap culture taking place?
I don't have me time on social media.
like basically when you scroll around, what do you prefer
That's
seeing
not
the
me
most?
time. That's waste of time.
But what do you prefer to see otherwise?
I
when
don't
you-
prefer seeing social media. I really think it's waste of time because it's really not adding anything to my this thing. So I really try avoid as much as I can. I avoid aimless scrolling
Yeah.
as much as I can. Yeah.
And at the same time, I have
Maybe
to-
I'm not cool enough. I don't know, but that's what it is.
But at the same time, like as we speak about your podcast, that was also one of the questions which we
But
started off.
podcast is not just aimless scrolling.
No,
It's
no.
got information.
Exactly.
It's
No.
got, yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that basically you have started a podcast which is very unique,
Yeah.
which is like pet podcast, which
No,
we
so
have.
see, be it the book, be it the podcast. These are
We
my
have never
passions.
heard, before as such. When we are saying like we have seen podcasts of humans, conversations,
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
these things. They're knowing insights about them. But pet podcast, I was like, okay, what? This is very surprising.
Yeah.
What built that in you basically? Like where you felt like.
So, happy podcast happened because there's so much information, so much noise about what is there, what is not there. I just wanted to have conversation where we discuss with experts because there are multiple views. And again, one has learnt in life that every view has its place. Everything is not right, wrong, black, white. There's a lot of shades of grey.
Yeah.
So, let's have different opinion. Like parenting has been that also. There are different opinions. Every child is different, every household is different, every parent is different, and it's a chemistry between all of that.
Correct.
So there is no one template for that. Same thing with pet parenting. And that's what it is because your pets are your babies and it is parenting that you're doing. And if you're not thinking of it as parenting, then you should not have a pet.
Yeah.
So all those conversations that that you bring, you can get a pet, and experts telling you that don't just go and get a pet. Understand what it takes to do it. But how will you understand that? If you listen to my podcast, you will have places that we will tell you where you can shelter a dog for a few days or a cat for a few days and see how it goes. Can you do it? Oh, interesting. But you know what? I cannot commit this kind of time right now. So maybe sometime later in life, I would love to have. But you can do that. So these kind of information about your legal rights, about your pet's legal rights, information about insurance, about vets, about medication, about animal behavior, animal nutrition, their grooming, so many things, that you can talk about, and so many opinions about it. So somewhere trying to make the sense of all that is out there, making sort of decluttering the clutter that's there around this topic.
And what keeps you happy? Because
My pet.
happy.
So she's there on the podcast with me, and that is the beauty of it because I was like, oh my god, this conversation, I can have the conversation but it can be very boring, and I was like, but it is about my pet and I just wanted her to be with me and I wanted to do something with her. And then I said that why not come with my pet, and why not have them bring their pets. So it's a bit chaotic, but it's fun
But
chaos.
it's actually fun chaos. I
Yeah,
must say
it's
that
so
very
much fun.
new. It's nothing
Yeah.
which has been tried or experimented, to be honest.
Yeah, so like while we are discussing a very serious topic,
Yeah.
it's exactly what pets do when you're going through something really heavy and they come and they ask for a treat or they give you a lick and there's something happening and you get distracted
They
and you
love
laugh.
you like how much?
And you laugh and you go back to a serious topic, but that's what life is and that's what your pets do, and that's why it's the happy podcast.
And lastly, before I let you go, what are your upcoming projects you're focusing on? Because
Well,
a lot
am
I could
working
see on you.
but yeah, I mean there are certain, I'm not at liberty to talk about them right now, so I will talk about it when I can speak about them. But yes, there is a lot of things going on. Like I said, I'm doing fiction, non-fiction, my jobs. I've written a book with my book club, my passion. I'm doing the Happy Podcast, which is a pet podcast, Aganana the Passion. So here it is, 2 passions, jobs, multiple things happening, and with that, of course, yes, family life, my son, all that also, yes.
Oh, lovely
It's a
chatting
good
with
life,
you.
I
Of course,
must
it's a
say.
very good and happening life, I must say that.
I
You're
don't know about
literally busy.
happening, but it's a good life.
It's
I'm
happy
very,
busy.
very grateful for it.
It's like happy, busy life, basically, I must say
Yeah.
that. But on that note, lovely chatting with you, Sonali ma'am.
Thank
and
you.
always it's pleasure chatting with you. Looking forward to see more of your work, and definitely looking forward to see the pet podcast and the stories around it. I'm sure it's going to be
Absolutely.
lovely.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much for a lovely time.